Dear students, welcome to EPG. I'm Tanya Thomas from Srimati VHT Central Institute of Home Science, Bangalore. Today we'll be doing Need, Scope of Guidance, Principles, Objectives of Counseling. We are social beings and require some kind of help in regulating our life at some point or the other. This positive regulation of a person's emotion, mental and physical action by some external factor guide is termed as guidance. Guidance is an age-old civilization. People are dependent on each other to regulate their activities since the very beginning, to the extent that guiding each other has been the way of life. It has been one of the traditional methods used by many. Parents, grandparents, teachers, friends, etc. guide individuals for peaceful and successful living. However, due to industrialization and changing lifestyle, the need of professional guidance is felt in the present day. What is the meaning of guidance? Guidance means to direct, help, recommend or for the progress and development of an individual. Man needs guidance throughout his lifetime, and every individual encountered by him renders guidance for the development, achievement and all-round progress. It is the help given out to by an experienced person to an individual who is less experienced. Help is rendered to solve few issues faced by the individual, education, career, personal, etc. Guidance is considered as a concept and process. Guidance as a concept deals with optimal development of an individual, and as a process helps an individual to evaluate oneself and helps in understanding oneself, that is strength, weaknesses, limitations, etc. According to Lester D. Crow and Alice Crow, 1962, guidance is not given directions. It is not the imposition of one person's point of view upon another person. It is not making decision for an individual which he should make for himself. It is not carrying the burdens of another person's life. Guidance is an assistance made available by a qualified and trained personnel to an individual of any age to help him or her manage their life activities, make decisions and to be successful in their life. What are the scope of guidance? A person can be guided at any point of time, and this can include person of different age, interest, personality or nature. Guidance should be tailored for each individual according to his needs. The scope of guidance is to provide the needed information and assistance, help the individual make wise choices, improve one's understanding of self, help adapt to the changes or new environment, make a person self-sufficient and independent, help people make efficient use of their capabilities and talents, encourage personal and professional development, boost an individual's physical, psychological, emotional, social and spiritual growth, help in overall development and to live a productive life. Need for guidance. Guidance is needed at all time, and the need for guidance is universal. It is based on the fact that guidance is needed by a man at any point of time or other. Johns has rightly said, everyone needs assistance at some time in his life. Some will need constant and throughout their entire life, while others need it only at rare intervals, at times of great crisis. There always have been and will continue to be people with occasional need for the help of the older or more experienced associates in meeting problem situation. Nowadays, there is a great need of guidance as there is the advancement in technology, social change, changes in lifestyle, globalization, industrialization, expectations of people and change in standards of moral values. All these contribute to the need of guidance at every phase of life and at every sector. Personal needs. Due to changing lifestyle and social change, individuals are facing a lot of personal problems. And as each person is different and their needs are different, guidance is needed. During every developmental stage, for the holistic or optimal development of an individual, for solving different problems of an individual, for triggering the abilities in an individual, to guide individuals on different phases of life, that is marriage, family, separation, emptiness phase, etc. What are the educational needs? Educational sector is becoming competent and there is a rapid expansion in the educational field. This has paved the way to guide students at every juncture so they become successful and goal-oriented individuals. Educational guidance can be rendered for varied reasons such as academic growth and optimal achievement of an individual, guiding students in proper allocation of diverse courses available, guiding individual to realize their strengths and enable them to work on the skill. Guidance can be given for the qualitative improvement of the educational sector. Next is career or vocational needs. Individuals require guidance service while choices are made on the vocational needs. Guidance help in improving the vocational efficiency of an individual. Vocational guidance help in national development or economical development. Awareness about the career options available. Balances in between the labor needs and the manpower. What are the principles of guidance? According to Crow & Crow, guidance is based on the following principles. Every aspect of a person's complex personality pattern constitutes a significant factor of his total displayed attitude and form the behavior. Guidance services which are aimed at bringing about desirable adjustments in any particular area of experience may take into account the all-round development of the individual. Although all human beings are similar in many respects, individual differences must be recognized and considered in any effort aimed at providing help or guidance to a particular child. The functions of the guidance is to help a person formulate and accept stimulating, worthwhile and attainable goals of behavior, applying the goals to conduct his behavior. Existing social, economic and political unrest is giving rise to many maladaptive factors that require the cooperation of experienced and thoroughly trained guidance workers and the individuals with the problem. Guidance should be regarded as continuing process of service to an individual from young childhood through adulthood. Guidance services should not be limited to the few who give observable evidence of its need, but should be extended to all persons of all ages who can benefit therefrom either directly or indirectly. Curriculum material and teaching procedures should evidence a guidance point of view. Parents and teachers have guidance appointed responsibilities to administer guidance intelligently and with as thorough knowledge of the individual as is possible. Programs of an individual evaluation should be conducted and accurate consultative records of progress should be accessible to guidance workers. An organized guidance program should be flexible according to the individual and social needs. The responsibilities for the administration of guidance programs should be centered in a personally qualified and adequately trained person, working cooperatively with his assistants and other community welfare and guidance agencies. Periodic appraisals should be made for existing guidance program. Guidance touches every phase of an individual's life pattern. Specific guidance problems on any age level should be referred to a person who are trained to deal with particular areas of adjustment. What is counseling? Counseling is defined as both self-confirming experience and a validating experience that help establish productive method of self-defining behavior for each individual person. Counseling is a systematic process in which the counselor and the client collaboratively view the problem, set goals, formulate action goals, and evaluate advancement towards the goals. It is helping process in which counselor help the clients to achieve goals with a minimal assistance given by the counselor. What are the types of counseling? Counseling is based on various techniques. This is to suggest appropriate solutions to the problem faced by the client or the counselee. There are three types of counseling: directive counseling, non-directive counseling, and eclectic counseling. Directive counseling or prescriptive counseling. In directive counseling, the counselor plays an important role in counseling process. It is a counselor-centered approach where the solutions of the problems are suggested to the client. Directive counseling begins when the counselee is possible to accumulate adequate data to form the basic of analytic diagnosis of the problem. The counselor's role is to assist the counselee in getting required data so suitable solutions can be provided. The counselor gives direct advice, suggestions and explanations to the counselee for the problem suggested by him or her. The counselor is to analyze the problem, find out the causes, make decisions and suggest the solutions to the counselee for implementation. E. G. Williamson was a great profounder of this approach, and this is good counseling method to address problems related to education, vocation, etc. This counseling method does not focus on the personality development of the individual. The 6 steps formulated by Williamson are: analysis. It includes collecting information from the individual from various sources. Synthesis. After collection of data, the information is organized to understand the liabilities, adjustments and maladjustments of the individual. The third point is diagnosis. It simply means to dig into the problem. Diagnosis literally means to identify the nature, causes and sources of the problem. Fourth point is prognosis. Prognosis means to foresee. It is a medical term for predicting the outcome of the problem and to understand the present situation. Fifth point is counseling. During counseling process, the attitude, interests, skills, strengths and weaknesses are considered. The sixth point is follow-up. The sixth step in directive counseling and the extremely important step in the counseling process. Though there is a change in the individual attitude, behavior, he or she will require some help in future. An individual may be able to solve immediate problems when new ones occur, or the original problem may reoccur again. What are the advantages of directive counseling? This is a method which is useful for time-consuming point of view. It saves time. The counselor can look at the client directly. What are the disadvantages of directive counseling? In this process, the client is more dependent. The counselee may agree to the suggestions put by the counselor, but may find it difficult to implement the same. The next counseling method is non-directive counseling. Non-directive counseling focuses on the client. It is a counselee-centered approach where the counselee is guided to use his or her inner resources to solve the problem. The role of the counselor is only to guide the counselee to identify the cause, formulating the strategies, helping in decision making and implementing the same to solve the problem. Carl R. Rogers was a main exponent of this counseling method. He is also called the father of counseling. Non-directive counseling has various phases which involves opening session, establishing rapport, exploration of the problem, discovering alternative solution, termination of the session, follow-up. What are the few advantages of non-directive counseling? It is slow, but counseling method makes the individual capable of making adjustments in future. It removes the emotional block and helps the individual to bring the repressed thoughts on the conscious level, thereby reducing the tension. What are the limitations? It is slow and time-consuming process. The counselor's passive attitude might irritate the counselee that he or she may hesitate to express his or her hidden feelings. The third counseling method is eclectic counseling. Eclectic counseling involves the use of directive and non-directive counseling method. It is flexible, wherein the counselor may start the session or the counseling process with directive approach but may incorporate non-directive approach according to the situation. The main proponent for this method was F.C. Throne. Steps in eclectic counseling. The process of eclectic counseling are as follows: diagnosis of the cause, analysis of the problem, preparation of the tentative plan for modifying factors, securing effective conditions for counseling, interviewing and stimulating the client to develop his or her resources and to assume its responsibility for trying new modes of adjustment, proper handling of any related problems which may contribute to the adjustment. Expectations of eclectic counseling are: active method may be used with specific indication. In general, passive method should be used whenever possible. In early stages, when the client is telling his story, passive techniques are usually the methods of choices. This permits emotional release. Until simple methods have failed, complicated methods should be attempted. All counseling should be client-centered. Every client should be given an opportunity to resolve his problems indirectly. Directive methods are usually indicated in the situation maladjustments where solution cannot be achieved without cooperation from other persons. What are the disadvantages? Eclecticism is vague, superficial and opportunist. Both directive and non-directive counseling cannot be mixed together. Principles of counseling. A British Association for Counseling and Psychotherapy ethical framework for good practice in counseling and psychotherapy presents 6 ethical principles which should be followed by the counselor and the counseling trainees. Respect for autonomy, non-malfeasance, beneficence, justice, fidelity, self-respect. Respect for autonomy. Autonomy literally means to take decision of any kind according to the individual. Non-malfeasance, this term means to do no harm. Beneficence means a commitment to promoting the client's well-being on professional assessment. Justice is to act fairly or justly. Fidelity, this principle deals with the trust relationship between the counselor and the clients. Self-respect, counseling practitioners need to foster self-knowledge and care for themselves. They should seek counseling and other forms of self-development as needed. Objectives of counseling. The goal of counseling are to help individuals overcome their immediate problem and also equip them to meet future problems. Counseling is to be meaningful, has to be specific for each client. Since it involves his or her unique problems and expectations, the goal of counseling may be described as immediate, long range and process goals. The immediate goals is to obtain relief for the client and the long range goals is to enhance the adaptability of the client. Counseling goals may be classified in terms of counselor goals and client goals of therapy. These may be further classified as developmental goals. Developmental goals are those where the client is associated in meeting or advancing his or her anticipated human growth and development. Preventive goals are those in which the counselor helps the client avoid some undesired outcome. Enhancement goals, if the client possesses special skills and abilities, enhancement means they can be identified and further developed through assistance of the counselor. Remedial goals involves assisting a client to overcome or treat an undesirable development. Exploratory goals represent goals appropriate to the examining of options, testing of skills and trying new and different activities, environments, relationships and so on. Reinforcement goals are those in the instance where clients need help in recognizing what they are doing, thinking, feeling is okay. Cognitive goals are those which involve the acquisition of the basic foundation of learning and cognitive skills. Physiological goals are those which include acquiring basic understanding and habits for good health. Psychological goals aid in developing good social interaction skills, learning emotional control, developing a positive self-concept and so on. All these goals will lead to ultimate goals which are discussed following. Achievement of positive mental health, resolution of the problems, improving personal effectiveness, change, decision making. To conclude the present session, being social beings, we require help from other members of the society in one way or the other. This guidance can be of many different types. Counseling is a form of guidance where another person guides a person. The counselor should have good qualities which would encourage the counselee. Thus, the ultimate aim of counseling is to empower the individual so that he solves his present problem and give him the means to deal with future matters, thus making him strong and self-reliant person.